Hello and welcome to HITC Sport. Right, the season is almost over, meaning it's nearly time to focus on transfers. This summer could be a mad one. We'll either see loads and loads of deals with clubs desperate to get some money, or barely any movement with teams unwilling to part with their limited cash. But no matter what, each club will surely do something, so here is one player each Premier League club must sell this summer. Arsenal, Mesut Ozil. The Gunners have been mixed during Project Restart, but the one constant has been no Mesut Ozil. No matter how desperate Arsenal have been, the German playmaker just can't get on the pitch, and a lot of the time he can't even get on the bench either. I mean, that says it all. Even Gareth Bale can get on the Real Madrid bench, even if he does spend his time dicking about and pretending to be asleep. Ozil's Arsenal adventure has to come to an end for everyone's benefit this summer. His career has stalled for far too long, all the while taking home a massive wage for nothing. Aston Villa, Iranian Nyland. I mean, I could have picked any of Aston Villa's goalkeepers here. They're all pretty naff other than Tom Heaton, and he's been injured for ages. But Norwegian stopper Nyland has been particularly poor at a time when Aston Villa needed to be solid. Who Aston Villa will sell will largely depend on whether they stay up or go down, because we all know Jack Grealish is on the first train out of there as soon as the relegation's confirmed. Bournemouth, Nathan Ake. Unless there's a miracle, Bournemouth are going back down to the Championship. That means there'll be a lot of changes at the club this summer, and one player who has to go is Nathan Ake. That's not because he's not good enough or not wanted, far from it, it's more that he's their best and most valuable player. With finances tight across the country right now, Bournemouth have to cash in and get some money for Ake, no matter how hard it will be to see him go. He's far too good for the Championship, which is why the likes of Man City are already being linked with the Dutchman. Brighton, Alireza Jahanbakhsh. It seems like a long time since he scored that overhead kick, yet amazingly it was still this season. Jesus Christ, please just end it all. But while he has got 2 goals to his name, Jahanbakhsh and Brighton need to call it a day. Despite their best efforts, it just isn't working out. The Iranian winger costs a lot of cash for a club like Brighton, and no matter who's been in charge, it just hasn't worked out. Despite his January flourish, it's been back to normal since then, normal being not playing at all and people struggling to spell his name. Burnley, Ben Gibson. You'd be forgiven for forgetting that Ben Gibson is actually still a Burnley player. I certainly did. Once considered a potential England centre-back, Ben Gibson has fallen off a cliff since joining Burnley. Well, not literally, that would be pretty dangerous. But his chances of playing for England are about as likely as Watford keeping a manager longer than a week. Gibson hasn't even been looked at when Burnley have been down to the bare bones, instead of being allowed to train back with former club Middlesbrough. He needs to get a permanent move away this summer, otherwise he'd completely forget how to actually play football. Chelsea, Michy Batshuayi. We could have picked Kepa, but I don't really think that's going to happen. He cost £71 million and they're not going to get that from now, so they might as well persevere with him and see if he can kick on. But one player who does need to leave is Michy Batshuayi. There's been no renaissance for the Belgian under Frank Lampard, who's treated him the same as Conte and Sarri did. This is going to be the last summer that Chelsea can get some big money back for the Belgian, although I highly doubt they'll get the £33 million they paid for him. Crystal Palace, Dario Riedewald. This isn't a knock on the player, but as long as Roy Hodgson is Crystal Palace manager, there's not much point in Riedewald being there. No matter what, the Dutchman barely gets a look in, never gets a proper run in the team, and that's despite looking alright most times he plays. He was once a highly touted youngster, but now he'd be excused for forgetting that he even graces the Premier League. For his sake I hope he does leave, and proves how good he can be elsewhere. Everton, Yannick Bolasie. I've been harsh on Yannick Bolasie in the past, but for his sake I really hope he can get a transfer this summer. His time as an Everton player has been low after low, with his most recent spell at Sporting being something of a disaster, which he admitted himself in a statement on Twitter. But he's still an Everton player and needs to get a move somewhere that he can settle and enjoy his football like he did at Palace, back when he was strolling the grass in an attempt to get past players. Christ, that was weird. Leicester City, Adrian Silva. Christ, I feel like every time I do these videos it's just a mix of Yannick Bolasie, Islam Slimani and Adrian Silva, but these players are still contracted to a Premier League club despite loan spell after loan spell. Adrian Silva is best known for that weird deadline day move to Leicester where he wasn't allowed to play for 6 months, and after that things didn't get much better. He's had back-to-back loan spells at Monaco, and I bet the Foxes just wish they'd take him permanently. While Leicester have done a lot right since winning the title, the players they signed directly after they got their hands on the trophy have been a real disaster. Sell him now, Leicester, and make sure you get rid of Islam Slimani while you're at it as well. Liverpool, Xherdan Shaqiri. It seemed like an inspired signing at the time, but Xherdan Shaqiri hasn't really done it in a Liverpool shirt. Sure, he's got himself a fair few medals, but he's hardly had to do any work for them. He's just sat there while his teammates do all the work. But then again, that's Klopp's fault, not the man who has the biggest calves known to man. The Reds boss just isn't a fan of Shaqiri, and this summer is the time to move on and let some other team benefit from his new hair. Manchester City, John Stones. Despite the money invested, the potential, the promise, the Pep Guardiola style of play, John Stones isn't going to make the grade at Man City. He can still be a good defender, but the Man City ship has passed him by. While they continue to grow better, he's standing still, scratching his head and wondering how on earth he's cost his team another goal. Guardiola demands perfection, and it's rare he gets that from Stones. The fact he's been playing Eric Garcia behind closed doors ahead of John Stones speaks volumes, meaning the end could be near for the England international. Manchester United, Jesse Lingard. Right, let's not kid ourselves anymore, he's 27. The joke about Jesse Lingard is up. It's not funny anymore, it hasn't been for a while. He's a talented footballer, but not at the level Man United need to be. The longer they keep him, the longer they're accepting mediocrity, and the fact they've been so good when he's barely played says it all. Solskjaer, or more likely Ed Woodward, need to find another home for Lingard this summer, be it on loan or permanently. Either way, this just screams West Ham. Come on Moisey, do us proud and bring him to the London Stadium, it's the right thing to do. Newcastle United, Fabian Schär. He was a hero in black and white last season, but things have been totally opposite this time round. Schär is no longer the force he once was, the marauding runs have stopped, the thunderbolts from distance are nowhere to be seen, and the actual defending has been non-existent, which is a little bit worrying for a defender. Schär suits playing in a back five, which Newcastle are trying to move away from, meaning the Swiss defender is becoming a bit worthless. They'll get good money for him, and I think this summer is the time for Newcastle to cash in on Schär. Norwich City, Todd Cantwell. The Canaries are down, meaning they'll be playing Championship football next season, but some of their players probably should stay in the top flight. One of those is Todd Cantwell, and he's a player Norwich must sell, simply for the fact they'll get a huge amount of cash for him. Teams from up and down the division have been linked with the long-haired midfielder, and if Norwich can get near 20 million quid for him, they'll be very happy with themselves. It was almost worth getting relegated for. Sheffield United, Luke Freeman. It's been a pretty perfect season for Sheffield United that even the most optimistic blades of fans didn't see coming, so it's quite hard to pick someone they should get rid of. But one summer signing that's barely played has been Luke Freeman. He arrived from QPR, but has barely been involved, and he probably wished he'd just stayed in the Championship. Unless of course Chris Wilder's side eventually do qualify for Europe, then I'd stay if I were him, just for the free holidays to some mad places like Azerbaijan and Lithuania. That's what the Europa League's all about, isn't it? Southampton, Wesley Hoot. We've got another returning loanee in this video, and another player who needs to be on the move once again. The Dutch defender cost the Saints a decent amount of money, but it just hasn't worked out for him, and Ralph Hasenhüttl clearly isn't a fan. First he went to Celta Vigo, and this season he's been on loan at Royal Antwerp, which with all due respect to Belgium, isn't quite at the same standard that Southampton want to be in the Premier League. He'll no doubt leave again this summer, and hopefully for good. Tottenham, Eric Lamela. Picking someone from Spurs was hard, but I'll go with Eric Lamela, as I think the gig's up for him. He was part of the influx of players following Gareth Bale's departure, and it's fair to say he's been mixed in a Spurs shirt. We've seen the sublime, and we've seen the woeful, and there's times when we've barely seen him at all because he's always injured. But there are better options out wide for Spurs now, such as Lucas Moura and Bergwijn, so maybe Spurs should just move him on before it's too late. Oh, and while we're on, his hair looks like cottage pie, pass it on. Watford, Isaac's success. I feel like the only time Isaac's success gets a mention is when we do a video on players who shouldn't be at the club anymore. His name is littered with irony, as he's honestly one of the least successful strikers I've ever seen. I mean, I don't even remember the last time I saw him playing. His contract expires in the summer of 2021, and in amongst sacking managers and making terrible decisions, the Watford owners need to sell success now and get some money back. West Ham United, Albion Ajeti. I really don't know why West Ham signed this lad, but what a waste of time it's been. What is it with the Hammers and signing crap strikers that they never use? Jordan Hugill was the same, and he's still there as well. But Ajeti joined last summer to facilitate Hernandez's exit, but the poor lad hasn't even started a single game. Considering how bad Hilaire's been at times, it says it all that Ajeti can barely get on the pitch. Sure, he's only had one season, but there was something there he'd surely have started at least once. £8 million absolutely wasted. And finally, Wolverhampton Wanderers, Leo Bonatini. We're in things with another striker, and we've got another returning loanee, as to be honest, Wolves' squad is pretty perfect. But as for Bonatini, he's been woeful ever since that bright start life in Old Gold, but since then it's been disappointment after disappointment. The better Wolves get, the more ridiculous it is that Bonatini is actually still associated with the club, and they need to get rid of him before the start of next season. So there we have it, that's one player that each Premier League club must sell this summer. Let us know what you think in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to HITC Sport. You can follow me on Twitter, I'm at HITC James, and until next time we will see you around.